Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. Alright, let's address the elephant in the room. I know it's not Halloween. Alright, that's long past. But when it came to my Halloween videos, I ran out of time and I couldn't upload everything I wanted to. So that's why I'm uploading them past Halloween. But if you stop and look at it like this, at some point in time, it's gonna be Halloween time again, October. So somebody eventually will stumble upon my videos and watch it around Halloween time. So yeah, and I'm here today to talk to you about Friday the 13th, the 1980 movie. So this is kind of like my thoughts on it because it's my first time watching this movie. My first time watching this movie, man, I really wanted to compare the 2009 movie with the 1980 movie, and HBO Max had it, and then they took it off. I'm like, crap, and everything. I waited too late to watch them and stuff. And so this was a pretty good, like, slasher horror type movie. Sadly, I already knew who the killer was in the first one because of the Scream movie and everything. Like, I always knew it was the mom who was the killer in the first, and Jason didn't show up until the sequels and everything. Just like, you know, Billy and Stu said or whatever. And just like Randy said in Scream 2, Mrs. Voorhees was a perfect killer. Like, I love that whole idea that there's a person going around killing these counselors at a camp, and you don't never see like who it is and stuff. So it gives you that whole mystery of, all right, well, which one of these people in the movie did it? Well, the great thing about this movie is that you never see this person throughout the entire movie, so you can't play that guessing game. And so when you do find out who it is, you're just like stumped and kind of like, what? And so, yeah, Randy, he was right when they wrote that line in Scream 2 about her being like a perfect killer, because it completely flipped the script and everything, and I love it. And so, like, as for the movie itself, you know, the movie was pretty, like, well, it's pretty like 80s horror slasher movie cliche. I can't help but to watch this movie in, like, you know, modern 21st century rose-colored glasses and everything. Some things made me laugh, other things made me offended, and other things all like, man, 80s slash movies really did do all this stuff. There were some pretty cool kills. I wish it was more gory, but of course they couldn't do that without showing who it was and stuff. There were 3 scenes in this entire movie that, like, just made my eyes pop. Like, what the? I was like completely shocked. Like, wow, one of the scenes, well, on the first one, after those 2 counselors like did it, the guy's like just smoking on the bed, and then all of a sudden a hand comes up, and then arrowhead just stabs him through the chest. I'm like, where did that hand come from? Then when the one girl was looking for that, well, that one dude was out and about doing a rainstorm with the generator, and then that girl woke up and like screamed his name. I'm like, wait, what? Did I miss something? Did he get it? And then of course Jason coming out of the water at the end of the movie, which just blew my mind because I was not expecting this. That was the biggest shocking twist, other than Mrs. Voorhees, like, you know, being the killer and stuff. But sadly, like I said before, I can't help but to examine this movie through 21st century eyes. Like, this is why Hollywood is the way it is today. Like, this movie is white. There are like maybe 2 Jewish people in the movie, and one dies very early, the girl in the Jeep, but you can't really tell sometimes she's Jewish until like you really look and stuff. And so she just comes off as looking white, but other than that, this movie was predominantly white. There was one black dude who was like a fry cook, and he doesn't do nothing, he doesn't say nothing. And this is why, like, you know, Hollywood is so diverse the way it is now and everything, because like of all this stuff, like back in the day, like they could have had one person of color and had them do something, like, you know what I'm saying? Also, all this like explicit like sex type stuff that's in the movie, It's like it's some a lot of it is like unnecessary. Like the two people who was actually doing it in the bed, like naked, that was fine because you know they're doing it. Of course, your clothes are gonna be off. But like I said before, be equal. If you're gonna show like the woman and show the guy, but you really didn't show the girl that much. Like kind of her nipple slip, but that's about it. And so that's like fine. But everything else was just ridiculous. I couldn't help but to laugh or just be grossed out. Like okay, at the lake when that dude fell over, everybody's in like their swim clothes and like there's a guy in a speedo and he is sprung. And the camera just happens to focus on his sprungness. I'm just like, I don't need to see that. And those are some short speedos, not to mention the dude who was chopping wood earlier with his shirt off. Those were some short shorts. And I can't believe people used to dress that way. I forgot people used to dress in short shorts back in those days. But then, like the Jewish girl who was in the Jeep with Mrs. Voorhees and everything, when she was all like, let me out, let me out, you could see her shirt was starting to come unbuttoned for some bizarre reason. And she was not wearing a bra and you could see stuff. And I'm just kind of like, how did that even happen and why did it even happen? Then you had them playing strip, Monopoly of all things. And when it's like raining, okay, so you have the one girl, I think the one who just got through doing it, she's running outside with just a shirt and underwear, like, you know, just prancing around outside in the rain. I'm just like, is that, who runs in the rain like that on just their underwear? And then you have the other girl who wants to go looking for her, who's literally just in her bra and underwear, and then she puts on her raincoat and runs out that way. Who does that, especially in the rain? And then there's that one dude with the dark hair who I was just offended by in the entire movie. And I didn't know why this dude constantly kept putting feathers in his head. Then he put one of those feather headdresses on and started acting like a Native American. I'm like, God, old Hollywood is so racist. I love the third act and the overuse of shadows and darkness and how things just blended into like the darkness. That was utilized very well, especially when like, you know, the final girl was like running from Mrs. Voorhees and she's just running into the woods and it's just like all black and all of a sudden she just disappears and everything and how she was hiding around, which was she was a very smart final girl. I'm glad they didn't have the overall bimbo type, but she did do a few bimbo-ish type things. I like how she was smart, how when she ran to the cabin, she fortified the door, like tying it with the rope, putting stuff behind the door, closed a couple of the curtains, not all, and of course there was no power. And so when she thought she was gonna get rescued, you know, she runs out and Mrs. Boyd just like creeps her out and everything. And so it's like, you know, then some of the bimbo in this started to come in. Like, because she wasn't completely smart. But then it's like once the killer showed up, she just turned into a bimbo after that. So I got mixed feelings about her because, like, you know, first when she sees the Jeep, you know, she had the perfect escape route. But then there was a dead body in it and she freaked out. All she had to do is grab the dead body, throw it out the car, and hop in the car and drive off. Then, you know, like at some point in time, instead of like, you know, because she's been there that camp place before, so she knows the ways out. She could have stole the keys from the Jeep, threw them in the lake, and then like ran out into the road and tried to find help. Because she's not going to outrun an old woman, you know what I'm saying? But then what does she do? She goes back into the cabin, turn the lights off, and hope nobody will find her. That was just kind of stupid. Then, you know, after she kills, like, what's her name, and she's by the lake, for some bizarre reason, she hops into a boat with no paddle, and she paddles with her hand in the complete darkness. And then in the morning, she's basically exhausted and passed out. And the cops just show up out of nowhere. Don't know why, because nobody called 911 or anything like that. So they had no reason to be out there. And then as soon as the cops show up, she's re-energized and can sit up until, you know, Jason came out the water. But why in the world did she hop in the boat and paddle her way out in the middle of the night? Because she just killed the killer. Ain't nobody else coming after her. Why didn't she run back out to the road and head back into town? So it's stupid little stuff like that that made her the bimbo like final girl, but she's also smart. But like I said before, her smartness just ran away when the killer showed up. As for Mrs. Voorhees, I like her motivation as to why she did what she did. One of the problems I have with Halloween is that there's no motivation. Not Jason, but Michael just does whatever he wants to do. But here it's like there's motivation. She is pissed at the counselors for letting her son drown. So every year, I think on his birthday, she shows back up there and she just starts killing the counselors and everything. Like she is truly psychotic in the head to where she hears her son's voice in the back of her head. And she is just truly like insane. However, I do not believe for a second she was able to kill all those young, healthy people as old as she was. Because some of those people were like, hey, like the one dude was hung up on the door with arrows. How did he get hung up on the door? I can understand if he was leaning beside it and got shot with the arrows, but he's literally like positioned upward. So somebody would have to hold him up. Somebody would have to shoot the arrows at him for him to be positioned there. I don't see her holding him up, throwing him in the air, running back to where the arrow and bow is at, and then shooting it. Not to mention, there are at least two scenes that don't make no sense. How is she able to get from one place to another place extremely fast? Like when she threw the one girl through the window with the rope. So you mean to tell me she did that, and then within a couple of seconds, she ran back out to the road, old as she is, hopped in the Jeep, and then drove back, like, to where the camp is at. Within a couple of seconds, I don't believe that. And there's another scene that is like that. So I get what they was trying to do, and it's part of that whole slasher can appear just out of anywhere thing. But that trope is very annoying because, especially, you gotta think, how was she able to do what she's able to do and pick all these people up? And like the dude who was hanging from like the roof. How does she do that old as she is? She ain't that strong. But then there are some dumb type of things that does happen with the final girl. I take back her smartness. She's actually a bimbo. She had a baseball bat. She later dropped it. She knew where there was an axe. She later dropped that and just left that there. She goes to get like a rifle, but she can't find none of the bullets. So why don't she just use the rifle as like a baseball bat? And it's just kind of like, I get she's scared, but she's scared of an old woman. So yeah, why I think this is a pretty good slasher movie. It's not perfect, and there are some things that are in it just kind of like, you know what I'm saying? But it is a whole lot better than some of these like more modern day like slasher movies, or even direct to DVD and direct to streaming slasher movies. Now I have just seen the second movie, and I probably won't talk about it only because like, I didn't like it as much as the first. They tried to like redo the whole, okay, there's a killer, but you don't see that person's face, and so you don't know who it is. I kind of get why they did that because, it would have been weird for like Jason to run around with that little like sheet over his head, but then that would have been cool at the same time because it's kind of like, whoa, who the heck is this person? But of course, they keep alluding to is him. Now, what's really weird and bizarre is that even from the beginning of the movie, they keep talking about, well, they never found his body all those years ago, and where is he? Maybe he's like, living like as a crazy person or mutated or this and that. So they really are trying to imply that he is, in fact, like, alive and the killer and stuff like that. Which is weird because there's been no mention of him being alive in the first movie until that weird like scene at the end of the first movie and stuff. And they could have just came out with a completely different like killer or another relative or something like that. But like, hey, whatever. I do like how the characters aren't as annoying as like the first. But the whole sexual themes are cranked up a notch from that of the first movie to where that one woman is just literally wearing those booty shorts and everything. She's wearing extremely cut like shirt, tank top type shirts. And then she gets completely naked and just swims in the lake at night. And I'm just kind of like, who the heck does that? And then, of course, there's that woman running around in her underwear outside at night with just like a shirt on. It's like, who does that? Who does that? Especially who does that around when there's men around and stuff. Now they might do it if there's not a woman around, but now there are tons of men around. And then, of course, once again, it's completely white. With only one black dude as a counselor who's mixed. Of course, because that's how Hollywood likes it and stuff. So it won't hurt white people's eyes and stuff. And then not only that, but he doesn't do absolutely nothing. And he doesn't really say nothing. He mumbles a couple of words in the middle of the movie, and they made it so you can't even hear what he says because, oh, this is the 80s and white people might not like that and stuff like that. And it's just like, such a disgrace. And this is why modern Hollywood is the way it is now. If you're one of those anti-woke mob people who hates diversity, well, here you go. This is why this happens and everything. This is why there are tons of people getting race bent. This is why there are tons of people of different sexualities coming out. This is why you see tons of naked men on streaming shows and movies nowadays because of this. Now, I will say, I'm surprised they actually did something with the dude in the wheelchair because of the simple fact this was the 80s and stuff. And when you look at modern day television now, would try to like include everybody, you'll see that one lonely person in a wheelchair, but they don't do nothing. Like, I've seen that 3 times before. Star Trek Discovery, when that person just like zipped past the corridor. I saw it in The Power when they were having like that government discussion, and it's just like this one person in a wheelchair. And then I recently just saw it in Percy Jackson, the Disney Plus series. And that didn't make no sense to me because the place where they was at like a training camp for kids that are the descendants of like gods, like Greek gods and stuff. So it makes you wonder, how is a god, demigod, deity type person in a wheelchair? Not only that, but the person didn't do nothing. They didn't say nothing. But the camera made sure to pan on that person and stuff. And so I was very shocked when they actually did something with the dude who's like, in a wheelchair in like, the second movie and stuff. But like Jason's motivation, it made sense for the first kill and everything, and it sucked they killed the final girl. Why let her live in the first movie just to kill her off early in the beginning? And it's apparent that she was gonna die early on because they kept adding in so many clips from like the first movie to give her more screen time. Then but after that, what was his motivation for wanting to kill like the counselors and stuff and in every other movie? So that don't really make no sense, and I have no idea what this dude is. I don't know if he was human in the first 2 movies. I'm pretty sure he was, but then at some point he became some kind of zombie after a while. But I prefer for him to wear his that sheet over his head and his like redneck hit clothes as opposed to how he dressed in like all the other movies with like the hockey mask and like the jacket and stuff, because that's more a Hollywood slasher. But here in the second movie it felt more realistic slasher type thing. That wasn't that spooky. All right, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.